She's definitely more of a fan of Instagram than YouTube. All right, have fun. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new to my channel, hello. Pause. The fact that the strap on my shirt fell off my shoulder is gonna annoy me so much for the next few minutes of this video. Sorry, I just have to point that out. All right, continue. My name is Gabby and welcome. So today I'm doing a true crime Q&A and I've picked 10 questions. Can I count? Yes, 10 questions that I get asked the most when it comes to my true crime videos, and I'm going to be answering those in today's video. But before I get into the Q&A video, I have 3 channel updates, which I'm super excited about. First update is that I started a series on my channel about 3 years ago when I first started my channel called Let's Gab, and I did one video about anxiety, and the whole series just kind of fizzled out and I didn't do anything else with it, but I've had a lot of requests to bring that series back. So I am going to be bringing that series back because I feel like it's a good opportunity for me to show more of myself and to talk about things that I really want to talk about, and maybe I can help somebody. The second channel update is that on my Patreon, if you are a patron, I'm going to be starting a podcast, which I'm super excited about. I've been working on this for a little while now. I've been working with one of my friends, trying to get everything situated. My first podcast is going to be probably uploaded around the early to middle of May. It's going to be a true crime podcast, but it's going to be less scripted, kind of more of just a chill conversation about the cases. And the third update is I'm going to be doing live streams. I'm going to be doing my first live stream this Thursday, probably around Eastern Standard Time, like 7 or 8 o'clock. I'm super excited about that. So yeah, I told you guys that this year I'm going to be focusing on my channel pretty much 100%, and that's what I plan to do. So with all that being said, let's get into the Q&A. Do I work with victims' family or friends? Yes. Now, not on every single video, because on my channel I mostly cover vintage cases, so sometimes it is really hard to find family members who are still alive, but if I can, I will usually try to reach out to them if there is some sort of information that I can't find online, or if I really just want to get family members involved because I want their input as well, because sometimes there's just a lot of rumors online, and if you go directly to family or friends or people who knew the person directly, they can give you more factual information, if that makes sense. The first family that I really worked with when it came to a case was the case of Christy Gwynno Pry. I reached out to her family, her sister Amy, one of the sweetest people that I've ever talked to, helped me tremendously with my case video. I also worked with Todd Matthews, who solved the Jane Doe case of Tent Girl. I've talked to a few authors who have written books about the cases that I've talked about on my channel. One of the best experiences, in my opinion, was when it came to the case of Marlena Childress. I reached out to a family member and they were very hesitant to work with me, and I completely understood because they had dealt with this for 20 plus years of people asking questions and wanting to know what happened. And I did the video after they didn't reply to me, and about a month after I posted the video, I woke up to a Facebook message and they reached out to me and they thanked me and they apologized for not getting back to me, and they said that out of everybody who ever covered the case, I did it in the best way and I tried to be as factual as possible, and I didn't really focus on rumors or speculations, and that meant a lot to me. So to answer this question, yes, I do usually try to talk to family members or friends or people who really know the case, because that's how you get the best information. Do I ever cry during my research? Yes. And I'm a very visual person, so usually most of the time when I cry, it's because I'm watching a documentary or a segment about the case, and I always get really choked up when it comes to interviews with family members. So yes, I cry a lot when it comes to researching. When it comes to deciding on what case to do, I spend a long time deciding, usually about 2 to 3 hours just deciding on what case I want to do. But I do get most of my ideas for which case to cover from you guys. I have a folder of screenshots of requests that you have sent me, and I usually look through those and kind of decide on a case that way. I also spend countless hours, even in my free time, on the Doe Network, and that's where I get a lot of my missing persons cases. If you've never been on the Doe Network, it's kind of separated by country and male and female, and then by the states, and I get a lot of my vintage cases from there. A lot of my cases, if not most of my cases for my vintage and vanish series, come from the Doe Network. When it comes to researching, it can take sometimes 4 to 5 hours, or it can take 4 to 5 days. There's some cases that I had to decide and I spent weeks and weeks on, so it just kind of depends on the case. Studying these cases definitely does affect me emotionally and mentally. I do suffer from depression and anxiety, so researching very, very sad and devastating topics obviously is going to affect you emotionally and mentally. For a while, it really triggered my anxiety, and I was scared to really walk anywhere by myself, and if I did, I would have to have pepper spray on me or my self-defense alarm. It did become quite overbearing at times. I usually try to take 2 to 3 days between videos and between researching, because if I don't, I will become very, very overwhelmed, and I'm sure most true crime YouTubers can completely agree with that. When I first started my YouTube channel, I mostly focused on creepy stories, ghost stories, old Hollywood, and I started getting into old Hollywood cases, and then I started getting into vintage cases in general, and I started my vintage and vanish series, so it kind of just was a snowball effect. But I've always been interested in true crime, and especially cold cases, especially older cases. One of my favorite shows growing up was Cold Case and Cold Case Files, so it's something I've always been interested in, and I'm glad that even though it does become a little bit too much at times and does affect me mentally and emotionally, like we went over, I am glad that I get to do something for a job that I really, really enjoy doing, and I've met so many amazing people from doing what I do. Of course, one of the most chilling cases to me, and I've done 2 videos on it, is the Black Dahlia case. I just could research that to no end. It's very chilling to me. Obviously, if you know the case, you know why it is so chilling, and it's unsolved. And of course, there's tons of theories as to who did it, and I lean towards some more than others. But another case that I've never covered on my channel that freaks me out is who put Bella in the witch elm. If you've never heard about that case, I will link Kaylee Elise's video down below because she did an amazing video on it. And just the title of that case, all the aspects of it, it's just freaky. I've always been interested in true crime myself. Like I said, the first 2 cases that I personally heard about growing up, and it was because of my mother and my grandmother, was the Jack the Ripper case and the case of JonBenet Ramsey. And I was always interested in those, but the first case that I personally became super, super interested in was the case of Sylvia Likens. Although I've always been interested in true crime, I would kind of just watch a show or a segment or a documentary about it, do a little bit of research, and kind of move on from it and come back to it later and you know, it was on and off with the cases, but the first one that I honestly became completely obsessed with was the Sylvia Likens case. And I remember it was probably like 6 years ago. I was scrolling around on YouTube and I came across a documentary and I watched it and I just could not believe such an event ever happened. If you don't know much about that case, it is absolutely heartbreaking. It's one of the saddest cases I've ever heard about. I don't want to ruin it for you, but do your own research. I do personally plan on doing a video about it eventually, no time really soon, but I do want to cover it on my channel because I feel like it's not as talked about as it should be. There have been 2 movies done about it, but they're also not really talked about. But that's the first case that I became very obsessed with. The thing that hands down frustrates me so much about cases in general are people, and I know that sounds weird, but people coming forward with completely false information that is just absolutely made up because they want to be a part of the case and come forward with some sort of something because they want attention. That just infuriates me. This is very controversial, but I have to say it, that one thing that completely just gets under my skin is the fact that some cases, because the victim's race, they are not highlighted in the media as much as they should be. Yeah. There's a few cases that I refuse to cover, and it's not because I don't enjoy researching the cases or that I think they're not important, but cases that are extremely talked about. Like, for instance, the JonBenet Ramsey case. That case is one that I will always come back to and look up information about, but it's not a case I will ever cover on my channel just because it is so talked about. And I want to talk about cases that are less talked about. And I just feel like there's no reason for me to cover a case where I can't add anything else to it. I feel like everything there needs to be said about the JonBenet Ramsey case has already been said. Yes, it would be a video that would get me more views, but I would rather take the time and talk about somebody who was murdered or went missing who is not as discussed on YouTube or in the media. When it comes to cases that I'm afraid to cover, there are a few. There's a few cases that I did research for, and I did my entire script. I did all the research for. And the more that I dove into them, the more I became very nervous to cover them on my channel because there were a lot of message boards where people were talking about the case, and they said that if you try to look into the case too much, it upsets some people who are involved in very bad scenes, if that makes sense. Just involved with very bad people and want to kind of shut you up about talking about the case. So those are the cases that a little on edge talking about on my channel. As a true crime YouTuber, you'll kind of hit walls like that sometimes where you just don't want to cover the case because you don't want to start drama with anybody. And yes, these videos are informative and entertaining to watch and they get your mind thinking, but you have to think that there's a whole nother world behind it. There's a family, and sometimes there's people you can upset by talking about these cases. So those are pretty much the 10 main questions that I get asked when it comes to my true crime videos, and I tried to answer them as honestly and as clear as possible. I have a lot planned when it comes to my case videos. I want to be more hands-on with these. I want to start doing interviews, which I think I'm going to incorporate more in my podcast series. So maybe sign up for my Patreon if you want to see those, maybe, I don't know. But I want to expand this into something else. I really want to talk to more family members and friends of the victims. I want to get more first-hand accounts. I want to do more videos where I actually go to the locations and talk to people, and that's the direction that I kind of want to go in with my channel. If you made it this far in this video, make sure to give this video a like because it helps your girl out. And I love you guys so much, and we'll see you all in the next one. Bye guys.